The mug slipped from my hand and broke on the kitchen floor. My dad's voice boomed from across the room. What did you do, Emma? Before I go on, what would you do in this moment? Be honest. Tell me in the comments. I read them all. Let's continue. I didn't move. I didn't cry. I stood tall, one hand resting on my small baby bump. I'm pregnant, I said. Come, steady. The room went silent. My mom froze halfway down the stairs. Her face went pale. Her hands shook. You just turned 18. Are you out of your mind? My dad came closer. His jaw was tight. His voice angry. Who is the father? Some loser? Someone from the street. He was furious, like my words had knocked the air out of him. His name doesn't matter, I said. What matters is that I love this baby. And I'm keeping it. He laughed. A cold, bitter laugh. You've ruined your life, Emma. We gave you everything. And you threw it away for this. It hurt. But I didn't back down. I didn't throw anything away. You're just mad you can't control me anymore. That pushed him over the edge. Get out, he yelled. You want to be an adult? Then live like one. I looked at my mom, hoping she'd say something. She didn't. She just shook her head and whispered. You're such a disappointment. And that was it. No one asked who the father was. No one asked if I was okay. They just kicked me out. But they didn't know I already had a plan. I had signed a lease on a small studio apartment. I had a job. And the father of my baby? He wasn't some nobody, they just wouldn't believe who he was. I left with only a duffel bag and a fire in my heart. No tears. No yelling. Just a quiet smile. Because I knew something they didn't. One day, 15 years later, they'd meet their grandson for the first time. And when they saw who I had become, their faces would go pale. That first night in my apartment was hard. No heat. No furniture. Just a mattress on the floor. I sat with a can of soup and a silent phone. No calls. No texts. Not even from my mom. I wasn't surprised. I was the family shame now, the girl who ruined her life. But I wasn't broken. Because I still had my baby. And I had a job. A few weeks before, I secretly started working as a receptionist at a small medical clinic. The doctor there, Dr. Weston, didn't judge me. If you're willing to work, you've got a place here, he said. So I worked hard. Every day from early morning till late at night. My belly grew. And so did my strength. At night I studied free courses online. Business, law, anything useful. I wasn't going to just survive. I was going to become someone they'd regret losing. At 7 months pregnant, I worked 2 jobs. Clinic by day, call center by night. Then one day I collapsed at the bus stop. I was hungry. Tired. Worn out. Dr. Weston found me. He canceled his patients and sat beside me. You okay, Emma? He asked. No, I whispered, but I will be. He nodded. Then handed me a letter. Give this to my sister. She runs the finance office at Harrington Medical. Why are you helping me? I asked. He smiled. Because you remind me of someone I gave up on. I'm not making that mistake again. That moment changed everything. 2 months later, I gave birth to my son Landon. I held him and cried, not from fear, not from pain, but from joy. This little boy with his bright eyes and tiny fists made every struggle worth it. And I promised him he would never feel unwanted. Not like I did. What followed were years of hard work. Hunger. Sleepless nights. And a goal. They thought I would disappear, but they didn't know who I was becoming. I had no clear path. Just a baby boy, a part-time job, and a fire inside me no one expected. Landon was only 2 months old when I started working nights again, this time from home. I typed reports and organized billing files for Harrington Medical's finance office. Dr. Weston's sister, Evelyn, gave me a chance. She didn't give me anything for free. No big title. No special pay. She just said, don't miss deadlines. Don't make excuses. And don't wait for anyone to save you. And I didn't. I breastfed Landon while finishing reports at midnight. I took extra data jobs on weekends. I taught myself how to budget, check spreadsheets, and write business contracts. I even started dressing differently when I went into the office. Simple blazers from thrift stores, low heels, and quiet confidence. People stopped seeing me as a girl who made a mistake. They saw me as a woman with a goal. By the time Landon turned 2, we moved into a small townhouse just outside Chapel Hill. It wasn't fancy, but it was ours. Clean floors. A tiny yard. A front door no one could slam behind me. I framed a photo from Landon's first birthday and set it by the front door. Every time I came home it reminded me why I kept going. My parents? Still nothing. No calls. No letters. Not even a message to ask if I was okay. But I still heard things through family gossip. My aunt's holiday emails made sure of that. My cousin got into Duke. My brother married a lawyer. Everything looked perfect. Every post was polished. But I was never mentioned. It was like I didn't exist. Until one day, they couldn't ignore me anymore. I was 26, sitting in a meeting with Evelyn and 2 executives, when she slid a folder across the table. "We're opening a new division," she said. "You've worked hard behind the scenes, Emma. Now it's time to lead." I blinked. "Lead? Me?" She smiled. "You're being promoted. Head of operations. Starting pay, $138,000. Full benefits. A team of 12. And yes, Landon can stay at the office daycare." I covered my mouth. I couldn't speak. "You earned this," she said. "And before you try to say no, don't. We need people like you. And so does your son." The second I left that room I called Landon's school. I picked him up early and drove straight there. He was 8 now. Messy brown curls. Bright green eyes. The same smile that got me through so many hard nights. "Where are we going?" he asked, buckling in. "Home," I said, smiling. "Our new home." That night I signed the lease. 3 bedrooms. Tall ceilings. A garden in the back. I paid everything up front. No mortgage. No debt. Just a fresh start. Ours. But my story wasn't over yet. There was still one part one hadn't shared. Not even with Landon. I had kept his father a secret. Not because he was dangerous or someone to be ashamed of, but because he trusted me to keep it private. Back then the man I loved wasn't just a random boy. He was a young doctor doing his first year at Johns Hopkins. He was working at the clinic where I had my first job. We met once. It was real. But his family didn't approve of me. I was young, poor, and alone. He moved to Boston just 2 weeks later. When I told him I was pregnant, he did something I'll never forget. He offered me money. I said no. I never called him again. Because I didn't want Landon to feel like a payment. I wanted him to be mine completely. Now 15 years had passed since my parents kicked me out. Then one day a letter arrived at my office. The handwriting was shaky. My mother's. "Emma, your cousin said you live nearby. We didn't know how to contact you. We'd like to see you and meet your son. Please, if you're willing to talk." I stared at that letter for almost an hour. I didn't cry. I didn't get angry. I just felt cold. Not because they reached out, but because they had no idea what was coming. I invited them over that Saturday. But I didn't tell them anything. Not about my job. Not about the house. Not about the amazing son I raised on my own. I wanted them to see it with their own eyes. To walk through the same door they once slammed shut. And feel the weight of everything they missed. They arrived 10 minutes early. Of course they did. My father, Daniel Carter, always liked to stay in control. Even now he wanted to arrive on his terms. Through the window I watched them walk up. Dressed like they were heading to a fancy party, not visiting the daughter they once disowned. My mom clutched her purse tightly. She looked nervous. Her eyes scanned the porch, the garden, the steps. She whispered something to my dad, maybe a warning. Maybe a prayer. Before they could knock, I opened the door. My father froze. My mother's jaw dropped slightly. They didn't recognize me at first. I wasn't the scared girl dragging a bag across the lawn anymore. I stood tall and calm. Wearing a clean cream blouse, fitted black pants, and a pearl necklace Landon had given me on my last birthday. It said everything without a word. "Emma," my mother said quietly. "Come in," I replied, stepping aside. They walked into my home slowly, looking around like they didn't belong. The house was quiet, warm, and filled with light. Photos lined the walls. The air smelled like coffee and lavender. "Nice place," my dad muttered. But it didn't sound like a compliment. Sounded like confusion. How did she do this? How did she get here without us? I didn't explain. He didn't ask. "Landon's upstairs. He'll be down in a minute," I said. They stood in the living room, uncomfortable. "I wasn't sure you'd write," I said. My mom looked at me, blinking twice. Then she said it. "We were wrong." I stayed quiet. We thought we were protecting you, she said. We thought being hard on you would help. We didn't expect you to really leave. That was the point, I said softly. No anger. Just truth. My father crossed his arms. You were just a kid. You had no plan. I had a child, I said. And a job. And a backbone. He looked away. The silence between us held 15 years of pain and things never said. Then I heard footsteps. Landon came downstairs. Wearing a navy blue sweater and jeans, his hair combed neatly, his eyes calm and kind. He looked strong. He looked like someone who was raised with love. Landon, I said. These are your grandparents. He stepped beside me. Hi, he said. My mother covered her mouth. My father took a step forward, stunned. But it wasn't just Landon's face that shocked them. It was the photos he carried in his hands. He gave one to my mother. It showed him standing next to a tall man in a white coat. That's my dad, Landon said proudly. He's a heart surgeon in Boston. He visits every summer and sends me books. My mom almost dropped the picture. Before they could speak, Landon handed them another. This one was me, standing at a podium with the Harrington Medical logo, surrounded by executives. My mom's head of operations, he said with a smile. She runs everything. And that's when it happened. My dad's face changed, completely. His eyes widened. His shoulders dropped. He looked like someone had just knocked the wind out of him. He took a step back and held onto the couch for support. Because in that moment he finally saw. I hadn't failed. I had become everything they said I couldn't. You. My father whispered. You built all this? I looked at him. My voice was calm, but inside me were years of pain. Sleepless nights, hurtful words, lonely birthdays. Every moment they thought I wouldn't make it. No, I said. I built myself. The room went silent. You could hear the wind outside the windows. My father didn't sit. He couldn't. His pride held him up, but just barely. The truth was too heavy. My mother slowly sat on the edge of the couch, still holding the photo of Landon and his father. She opened her mouth to speak, but said nothing. Landon stood beside me, calm and polite. Hands folded, quiet. He wasn't confused. He wasn't scared. He knew. He always knew the truth. These two people had chosen not to be part of his life. And now they were standing in a home they didn't help build. Looking at a boy they didn't raise. And at a woman they once pushed away. My father cleared his throat. I didn't know you were in touch with his dad. I wasn't, I said. Not for a long time. He wanted to be there, but I said no. I wanted Landon to have a steady life. No broken promises. When Landon turned 10, I let them meet, slowly. On my terms. My mother finally spoke, her voice shaking. He's beautiful, Emma. Thank you, I replied. She looked at me, her eyes full of tears. We made a mistake. I said nothing, because it was too late. Then my father's voice rose, not with anger but panic. You could have called. You could have come back. We would have helped. No, you wouldn't have, I said, my voice sharp. You told me to leave. You didn't ask if I had a plan. You didn't ask if I was okay. You just assumed the worst and made it clear I wasn't welcome. My voice cracked, but not from weakness. From truth. You kicked me out on the worst day of my life. And now you're sitting on a couch I paid for, pretending none of it happened. My mother cried. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm sorry for everything. I looked down at her. And for the first time in 15 years I felt nothing. Not anger. Not hate. Just peace. I nodded. I forgave you a long time ago, I said. But that doesn't mean we go back to how things were. My father looked shocked. Emma. This house has no space for guilt, I said. I raised a boy who respects women. Who knows love isn't something you earn. It's something you deserve. I became the woman you didn't believe I could be. And now you're standing in the life I built, with no help from you. I turned to Landon. Go get your coat, sweetheart. We're going to the bookstore. He nodded and went upstairs. Quiet. Confident. My mom wiped her tears. Will we see you again? She asked. I looked at her. That depends, I said. On whether you want to truly be part of our lives. Or just pretend nothing ever happened. Then I walked them to the door. They stood there, silent and stunned. I didn't hug them. I didn't say goodbye. I just closed the door gently behind them. And for the first time in 15 years, I was the one standing inside the house. The one they said I'd never have.